Hey, welcome to the PEPP Story live show. I'm Ricky Arundel, and tonight we're going to be talking about performance skills, part of the PEPP Story way: purpose, experience, passion, performance, and story. So let's get going. So we're working our way through the PEPP Story way to become a great speaker. And this is not just me saying this is how I did it. This is actually me observing professional speakers, great speakers around the world, and looking at it and thinking, what is it they're doing that makes that speech so great? And slowly, over a lot of years, I've come to the conclusion that these 5 elements are the key elements in great speeches, great TED Talks, great professional speeches, great corporate speeches. It's where we look at Steve Jobs as a corporate speaker. He used all these same techniques in his great speeches. So today is about performance. Now, if you read the notes before the show, you'll know that I have some slight concerns and reservations over the way in which people position performance. Because when people come to me for speech coaching, when they come to Toastmaster clubs, often it's performance skills that they seem to be looking for. I need to be able to perform better. And I've watched some really, really good speakers, in fact, great speakers, over-coached. And by that, I mean that they have learned so much in their performance skills, it appears staged. And you've probably seen this if you watched a play that's been overacted. Everything is so precise, so there's no sense of naturalness about it. And that's the real challenge we've got to get. Yeah, great speeches involve a lot of performance, and most great speakers have taken a lot of time developing their performance skills. I took acting at college when I first got me into speaking in the first place, and since then I've done I've got a gold medal in speaking, verse and prose. I've got the Lambda diploma in public speaking. I've got the English Speaking Board's grade 8 diploma in public speaking. I've been coached by people within the Professional Speaking Association. I've met some of the greatest speakers in the world and talked to them and grabbed their tips and found out ways to do it. I'm constantly evaluating TED Talks and great speeches, looking at it. I'm every week meeting with other professional speakers, sharing ideas. I'm in a mastermind group where we share ideas. And all of these are ways for me to improve and develop and build on my skills. But they started with a real sense of purpose, a desire to want to do this, speaking with passion, building on my experiences, developing all the skills to make me an expert in the field I'm going to speak on. You can't just get out there and speak. You have to have all of those things with it. And just having a speech which has been overperformed and overcoached isn't going to make it. You have to have those other factors: the purpose, experience, passion. If you haven't got those 3, then the performance skills have got nothing to work on. So that's the key. Your performance skills are great, but you have to have those basics in place as well. So there we go. That's the 4 elements we're talking about: purpose, experience, passion, performance, and story. And today we're going to be focusing on on performance. I remember a meeting at a National Speakers Association meeting back in the 20th century, back in the 90s, when I first got actively involved as a member of an association. And I spoke to a friend of mine there, Wayne Pickering, the Mango Man from Daytona Beach, Florida. And I said, Wayne, you've been a speaker now. I think you've been a speaker now for 15 years. And I said, what do you wish you knew now? And then when you started, what do you wish you knew then that you now know? He said, oh, no question. Number 1, this is show business. And I think that's what we have to remember. Speaking, no matter where it is, you could write it out, send it to people, let them read it. But they'd rather come and listen. Why? They'd rather listen to you on a Zoom meeting. Why? Because somehow something you can add, some factor you can add to that is going to make the content more enjoyable, more memorable, more usable. And that's the key that we're looking for. This is show business. And if you think about it that way, whatever you're doing, this is part of entertainment. And people are now with, we're locked down and we're stuck with this. We know for at least another 2 or 3 months. I suspect it's going to be most of this next year. We're going to be doing lots of online presentations. So you're not competing with the TV. Millions of pounds worth of equipment and people trained in broadcast skills with a whole team of experts around to make sure it goes right. And here am I with a piece of software that cost me 20 quid a month in my lounge, in my dining room, delivering a presentation as if I'm on TV. So you're comparing and competing with that. And I'm probably not going to measure up to the broadcast skills and the performance quality that's going to come about from that. It's also very impromptu. I'm not using auto cue. I've got a few little notes around here that I can look at, but in the main, I'm talking from my experience, sharing my ideas, and some performance skills that I've learned along the way. You can spend your entire life honing performance skills. I still do. I still attend all sorts of meetings. I've got a meeting coming out next Monday. It's the Fellows Forum at the Professional Speakers Association. That's all the fellows, all the most experienced speakers will be getting together to share ideas about how we can improve our business, improve our performance, improve our professional speaking. It's a constant improvement, never-ending constant improvement. And I've been constantly working on it for 40 years now. And as I've said, we've now got to add to those speaking skills, the stagecraft that we've had to learn. We've now got to add broadcast skills because we're delivering most of our work online, delivering it in a small mini studio. With all the hassles going on, you might hear my little puppy dog here making a little bit of noise because he likes to be on show, and he's not going to be right now. So let me tell you about one of my biggest failures, one of the biggest problems that happened. I've been working on a speech contest. And I was quite a regular visitor, quite a regular speaker at, sorry about this. Up comes my little pup. You're going to see him. He's insisting on being there, but never mind. He can share this performance, can't you? Yeah. So I've been working really, really hard, working on this contest speech. I'd won the club contest. I went to the area finals. I was the last to speak. It's a 7-minute speech. Everybody else had got up and done their speeches. They were good, but not brilliant. A friend of mine said, all you got to do is deliver. And I got up and spoke. And literally 2-3 minutes into the speech, I completely forgot the next part of the speech. I had some notes in my pocket. I pulled them out. Didn't make any difference at all. I just absolutely had forgotten completely where I was going with the speech. Couldn't get it. And I knew this was a very tight speech. 7.5 minutes, and that's it. You're disqualified. I flustered around for about 30 seconds trying to get this together. I'd lost it. I thought there's no point. I can't do this. I'll just have to bow out. I said, I'm sorry, I've forgotten. And I sat down. Now, I got a lot of plaudits for the fact that I had the courage to do that. But other people said, oh, my God, it happens to, it happened to you. God, I was terrified. Everybody's terrified that that's what's going to happen. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. What happens if I dry up? You see, when it comes to fear of speaking, we talked about this in the first episode. Fear of speaking is mostly about fear of making a fool of ourselves, fear of being humiliated, fear of being laughed at, messing up. And that's what I'd done. I had completely and totally lost my speech. And I was standing there for about 30 seconds and I'm thinking, and I suddenly had this whole fear. All of a sudden, this sea of faces seemed almost like angry faces that were looking at me thinking, please, what's happening next? And there was just desperate silence. And it's the most terrifying moment I've ever experienced, just those 30 seconds when I did not know what to say. One of the things I do on my speaking courses when people come along, now it's usually when live, it's more difficult to do on Zoom. I get people to stand for 30 seconds and say nothing, just connect with the audience, just look. We have to learn to deal with silence as speakers. And sometimes, you forget something and, I learned from that particular day, If you forget what you're going to do, walk to the back of the stage, find somewhere else to go. I had made the mistake of trying to learn the speech. I've never done that ever since. No good learning a speech. You have to be able to just work with your material. Great comics, great speakers don't learn speeches. They have points that take them from A to B, and then they run with their speech. If you try to memorize it, there's no prompt. There's nobody there. It's not like an actor on stage with somebody following the script who can prompt you. So one of the things that I think you need to learn more than anything else is silence. It's the first skill of performance. Learn to be on stage, comfortable with yourself in silence. When you start a speech, come onto the stage. Don't jump straight into what you're going to say. Don't rush up actually talking. Just come up onto the stage and just be quiet. Take a little look around the audience. And then come into your opening, your start, whatever it is you're going to begin your speech with. A good question, a bold statement. A great start is always good. We'll look at some of these specific techniques as we go later on in the month. But learn about silence. And think about this. When you speak, also when you write, we punctuate it. We use commas. We use full stops. We use quotes. How do you do that when you're speaking? We still have to punctuate our speaking. And what we do is we do that with silence. The long pause is like a paragraph break. Short pauses for full stops. Just a brief pause for a comma. If we want to quote something, we'll little pause before, little pause afterwards to highlight a piece of thing, and we highlight with silence. When I did my Lambda diploma in public speaking, I remember I delivered something and it was a bit too fast, to be perfectly honest. And I got an honours pass in it, but the examiner said, "Don't you think that things would be better if you're using a gesture?" And I'll talk about non-verbal communication. If you're using a gesture, if you're using making a bold statement, wouldn't it be stronger if that came from a position of silence? So learning to, instead of ramble on, stop, pause, make your statements, make things bold. That's one of the most important lessons to learn. Start working on silence. Allow yourself to pause. Allow yourself to let the audience catch up. But don't be afraid of silence. Work with it, play with it, understand it. And, I'll tell you, 5 seconds is a lot of silence. See what I mean? 5 seconds, a lot of silence. So when we do speak, we need to speak correctly. What we've found is that, particularly on video, for example, people are more likely to switch off if the audio is bad than if the video is bad. So even if the visual content isn't brilliant, if the audio content is, if the visual content is brilliant, if the audio content isn't good, they'll switch off. So you can't have crackles, you can't have noise. And if your speech isn't clear, if you're not enunciating your words, if you're not pronouncing them properly, then that's going to cause a challenge. Now, I'm not saying don't have an accent. Accents are good. Accents are particular. I mean, they're in vogue now. 20, 30 years ago, no. But now everybody wants accents. But if your accent is so broad that nobody can understand it, you need to work on that. If your accent is a little bit of a lazy accent, estuary English is an example, where things roll into one another, just separate the words a little bit more. Just make things a little bit more clear. Especially if you're speaking to an audience that doesn't have English as its primary language. You need to think about that. If English is a second language, then they're going to be having to concentrate that much harder and bringing words together. I'm learning French at the moment. I'm struggling with it. When I listen to somebody speaking French, it just rattles all together. I can't separate the words out. So I have to slow it down and think, no, just slow down. Just get me those words so I can actually hear them. And the more I hear them, then I can actually start to hear them all running together. So think about diction particularly. And if you need to have a little bit of coaching, take some coaching on diction, on making it clearer. It's one of the things I do a lot of when I'm working with people is just exercises to get things. Try the tongue twisters and things. Just get your diction right. Vocal variety, that's another aspect of performance that needs to be right. if you just deliver on a monotone basis, the audience is going to really switch off quickly. So get some excitement into it and rattle it up and then slow it down. So we need some variety. We need some changes of pace. We need to lift it up. You've got a microphone. The microphone needs something to work with. But don't shout. I mean, you don't need to shout out to people, but you do need to project your voice in such a way that it can be picked up. The microphone can use the information and transmit it. And there needs to be a bit of excitement. And that comes more, from passion than anything else. The more passionate you are about your topic, the more likely you are to be excited, the more vocal variety you'll start to hear. Then we've got to work on our non-verbal communication. And I'll be honest, it's not my strength. I do have a tendency to over-gesture. It's probably a good idea not to do that. I notice when I'm doing videos, I tend to move in and out quite a bit. And sometimes it's a good idea to just move in. I've got to remember all the time when I'm performing to look at the camera and not at the video, especially when I'm on a Zoom call and somebody's talking. If I'm talking to them, I need to flick up, look at the camera. It's only an inch above my screen, but I need to be looking at the camera, not at the person. I need my microphone close enough. And you can do all sorts of things to play with your microphone. But what I suggest is, you can do Zoom, you can do StreamYard, you can do BeLive, and you can do all these and just record it just for yourself. Stream to your own private Facebook groups, only you can see it. And then check it back. Have a look at how you look. See how you feel. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing a 31-day challenge, but I'm looking at my material, looking at what's happening. How well is that going? Putting it onto a podcast, seeing if making sure that's right. So that's, look at your non-verbal communication. Look at the ways in which you do it. More important on stage, but equally, actually, no, it's not more important on stage. It's equally important here. It's different. I've noticed things I can do on stage, big gestures and big movements. Can't do them when I'm on screen. I've got to keep the gestures much smaller. Small movements, I'm off screen. I'm waving around and bouncing around, very unsettling. So I've to learn to be a little calmer, a little bit more still when I'm working on Zoom and working on StreamYard than when I'm delivering on a stage when I can walk around a lot and maybe sometimes too much. Visual aids. I use PowerPoint. I use PowerPoint a lot. I use all sorts of visual aids. I use props and a whole variety of things. The thing that's important is make it appropriate. It's no good using lots and lots of slides if they're not necessary. Don't use slides as your notes. There's nothing worse than somebody putting up slides and basically reading them off or checking them and constantly looking at them to read them off. Use a slide to reinforce a point, to help the audience to remember something you're saying, to clarify something that's a little bit more complex, to visually take them into a scene so that they become more engaged in what you're talking about. Much easier to feel and see, climbing a mountain. I have a friend of mine who's climbed Mount Everest, and she's got some fabulous images of life-threatening events taking place on the slopes of Mount Everest. Well, you can't describe those anything like as well as seeing that image and thinking, oh my God, what's going on there? That's terrifying. So use visual aids appropriately. And you can have just, slides with just words on if it's appropriate. I use it sometimes, get lots of laughs just from the right bits. But just be careful with it. I'm not going to go into a lot of, we'll talk a lot more about visual aids and things. I'll do a whole show just on using PowerPoint. And finally, I want to talk about what I call platform mechanics. Platform mechanics are all of those aspects of your speech and the delivery that are not the content itself. These are the things that can mess your speech up. They're the things that can ruin a great speech. A great speech can be completely ruined by getting the technology wrong, by getting the staging wrong. And I've had all manner of things happen to me. People with jackhammers on the roof. I've had a waiter walk across in front of me in the middle of a speech. I've had drunk people at a presentation. I don't like after dinner speaking because there's an awful lot of that. And they're very rude sometimes. Everything that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong for me. But the thing about platform mechanics is that I go there ready. I go to a meeting well in advance to check, we've got the right microphone. I'm using if I'm using a radio microphone, is it a headset microphone? Is it going to mess up my hair? Have I got, clothing I can clip things onto that isn't going to, that's going to handle it? Check the stage, walk the stage. Is there a part of the stage which creaks every time you step out? These are all the sorts of things that I have to check out, because nothing worse than a speaker stepping on a creaky board on a stage all the time as they're moving around, and constant creak, creak, creak as they're doing. So you've got to just check for these. TED Talks, you'll notice there's a red carpet, a red, circular or square carpet, usually a circular one. It's important, that circular carpet. It's the outer edges of the videoing. So you have to stay on the carpet so people can video. And this is one thing I had to learn, particularly if you've got a big stage and there's big screens up behind. There's an area where they can video and capture you. If you step out of it, there's no light. So you vanish, you disappear, it becomes very dark. So these are all things that need to be thought about in terms of getting the performance right. So you can see it's a huge topic. But if you get purpose, experience, passion right, performance polishes it. If you don't get purpose, experience, and passion right, you can't polish it. Because if it's not right, if it's not working, nothing you do with performance is going to make it right. So that's it for today. I shall be back tomorrow. I keep saying 5 p.m. I haven't made it yet, but just an awful lot going on this week. I have lots of little problems with my little dog that you saw earlier on, who decided to eat something that was very, very toxic, and that's taken us a few days to sort that out. If you've got a TED Talk coming up, if you've got a big video conference coming up, if you're planning to do some meetings, if you're using this time in lockdown to think, well, let me develop some skills, and you need some speaking coaching, just drop me a line, ricky@rickyarundel.com, and we can talk about me helping you. I'm offering a free 30-minute introductory session. No obligation, no commitment to anything else required. Yeah, give me a call, drop me an email. Let's arrange a 30-minute session. I can talk to you about what you're trying to achieve, talk to you about how I can help you, and then you can make a decision if that's going to be right for you. So join me tomorrow. I'm going to be carrying on. We've got the whole of this month I'm going to be doing this, and then there's going to be a weekly show after that, so it doesn't stop at the end of January. Come and join me, and let's see what we can do. Tomorrow, it's about storytelling, the really important aspect of where we're all going on that. So come and join me tomorrow. And for now, I'm going to say goodnight to you. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care.